Well, hello there.
Hoo-wee! The heavy metal continues. Round 2. Heidi was here. We got a lot established on this front suspension. But today, we're going to play with cardboard. Stay tuned. Before we start with the cardboard, we got to discuss a couple things. And firstly, you'll notice that everything has been disassembled. In just a very short time, everything we did is no longer there. You know why?
Why?
Excuse me?
Why?
A little louder, everyone.
Why?
Because I got a couple really good comments from the viewers. And if you think I'm that proud, full of myself, and a professional, you're way overrating my talent. I was listening to what everyone there said, and you had a lot of good points. So, again, Heidi was here. We were doing things, trying to get this established as a concept. Once we threw this together, which happens a lot when I build stuff, I looked at it and thought, how could we refine this? People were commenting about the space that we got between this plate and this square tube. And how we arrived at that space was because, see, when we sectioned this tube in, I didn't want to break this wall. I wanted to have this tube rub up against that inside. So me just quick thinking, it's like, man, we got to put that on there. But see, now we got that space. I trimmed all this back, by the way, already. I figured it out. A couple people said, why don't you just flip that tube over? And then you won't have that space. And then we'll have even another strength of wall thickness. You know what? To those who spoke up, I salute you. Look at that, super strong. And in the end, we'll have a plate that comes over and wraps this and supports it. People didn't understand why this had to be so strong, because the entire chassis is back here and it's pushing down on this. So that's why we need this as strong as possible. I'm even going to come underneath. I got some tube to put through over this bolt to build an underside on it. We're going to get into the second half of that today. But I just wanted to point out a couple things. So other people were saying that this tube, this tie rod, is going to hit the shackles when it steers, because as it steers, it goes on an arc. It pulls in. And I'm going to agree with you there. I wasn't even thinking about that because we weren't steering nowhere. So as soon as we started to steer, it was going to hit. So in thinking, I shortened this up. I brought this as close to this axle as possible. I flipped this over, and then I was thinking we're going to have to mount this to the chassis somehow. So we didn't have this cross beam. I went and got that this morning. And I also trimmed out these springs. Oh, other people were saying, and this is something I'm going to disagree on. When we were doing all this, they said, get the other end of the leaf spring and weld that eye to the pieces that we're building. Heck no, no way. First thing, it's spring steel, and I'm not going to weld to that. I don't know anyone that would. Maybe it'll work. Do I want to find out with this heavy of a vehicle? Nope. And secondly, the other end of these springs, there's no eye. This is what's called a slider spring. So this spring comes up and it just kind of turns down. So it lands on a pad in the chassis, sort of like, I've seen some trailers do that. It's locked into this steel and Teflon, I imagine, trough where it just slides as it rides. So we only got one spring. That's what we ended up with this. The good news is the new bushings have arrived. So we got one in each spring, and because I popped it apart, there's some on the floor. So yeah, we got 4 new bushings, and they're a little bit loose in this 2-inch tube. A little bit looser than, hear that? a little looser than I like to see. So I'm gonna slit this with the grinder before I weld this together. So this will just get a little bit smaller. I'll just put a clamp on it and that should hold it pretty well. These are hammered in, not as tight as I thought. They didn't need a press, they just hammered in. So if I get the same result with this, I think we're okay. So now we're gonna clamp this here. We're gonna mock the whole thing up again, and then we're gonna get into building this template for the radius rods. Seems like a lot of people weren't understanding how the axle was gonna connect to the chassis. The springs are just independent. They're just floating there on these shackles to provide the suspension. Just like a hot rod, you're gonna have two arms that come back that attach to here, and that's what locates the axle and stops it from rotating. So this is just a suspension point. A lot of people said to flip the axle around and put the tie rod in front. I've done that before with a big drum brake front end and a car drum brake front end. They don't steer quite right. It works. But because the calipers on this are disc brakes, they're in the rear on this vehicle, I'm gonna leave it alone. And other people commented on the steering, but we haven't even gotten there yet. They're saying that this is facing the wrong way. You know why it's facing the wrong way? Because when I put it on the trailer, it turned around. Enough said. So I got these special bolts. I went out to the ranch. I got 2 more on order, but at least we have a good, solid, proper 15/16 bolt to get these things set up. These are shorter too. See, because I flipped it over, I reversed it, and I put this 45-degree angle. I had to cut those caps off and everything. So yeah, concept was there, needed refinement. I went out to the ranch and measured the chassis too, or I measured the chassis also. That's how I arrived with this. I made a quick template. I just wrapped these 2 ends around the outside of the frame so it's that wide. So it's going to be interesting to mount this up. Just kind of creating a subframe, just something that this whole thing is ready to put into that. We got bushings, shackles, put that in there. And we want these points to the top. I have to drill all these bigger, but I'm not going to waste our time on that. It's symmetrical. That's what I was saying. This stuff goes on and on. What I'm attempting to do here is to get the eye of the spring as far away from this tie rod as possible. So when it steers, we'll have room. Yeah, so that idea may not be plausible unless I cut that spring. Can you see in here what's happening? Here, I'll open up this side.
Should I go to the other side?
No, I'm gonna open this up right here. Spring is hitting. Let's see, I trimmed the spring out right there because I was trying to make as much room as possible, but now the spring here is hitting. I think this looks more like a safety thing than anything. I mean, I'd really hate to break that spring. Man, it's always something. So this is going to be pushing down as hard as possible. I mean, it does swing. If it doesn't hit, it doesn't hit. But when I drill these, it's going to come up. So, love that idea of flipping this, but now you see, maybe I was kind of witnessing that while I was talking with Heidi, and that's why I ended up with that. Unless we cut this back a little bit. No, I don't want to hang all that weight off of there. Dang it. Yeah, engineering 101. If it hits, it ain't gonna work. So see, if I put this on, and these bolts are too small, no, it's bound up. Man, oh man, always something. I don't know, I don't feel comfortable hanging the whole truck on just this eye. I feel like it needs that. I feel like this flexes and hits up against that, just like a leaf spring pack would do. If we were to rotate that down. So we do have plenty of clearance now, but that's hitting. I really don't know what to do here.
Really?
Really?
How come you can't do it the other way? How you had it set up before? Because that space in between.
I know, it's just if I flip this, then this comes closer to that, and that's why it was clearing. Those are all the measurements that I made. Dang it. I agreed with the double wall, but now I'd have to make these shackles a bit longer. I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, and I don't think you should cut that spring, like, at all.
No, because look, you're only on that. It needs this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is going to come up. Yeah. I guess the answer would be to make these shackles just a touch longer. Remake them all. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to wait on this. I think we're going to make the other parts. If anything, I have to remake all 4 of these, and I have to move this hole about a 1/4 inch. I mean, it's a ton of work and material just for a 1/4 inch, but if that's what it takes to make this work, then that's what we're going to do.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So that will allow you more space.
Yeah, that'll just drop this spring. See, we're getting close, but I don't really see this hitting because this doesn't really rotate. This won't come up. This is just going to go in towards that. So, and this is bent, I could see already. So if we just twist this one around or just hammer it, I don't know if this is solid, but this is supposed to be out a little bit more anyway. You can see it's got a bow in it. It hit something. So
then you still can then keep that flipped upside
down.
down.
Yeah, this design will work.
Okay, it's just the shackles, you gotta change the holes.
I have to buy another piece of material and make this just a little bit.
I know you hate wasting metal.
We're gonna hold on this for the moment, and I'm gonna mock up this side too. That way at least we're in gear. Trying to keep it spicy, trying to keep it entertaining, but it ain't working today. Okay, the point goes to the top.
Snoopy's flying around.
Red Baron is in town.
Snoopy is flying around wishing everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, happy St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, this is going to be such a heavy truck, especially with the leverage on this spring pack, that I don't want to modify it. One cool thing is that over the weekend we went to a car show. We saw our friend Kyle. And Kyle, if you're watching this, as I'm learning, you know some stuff about diesel trucks. So I'm going to need some help getting this engine running again. 8.2 Detroit turbo diesel V8. So yeah. So that's that. Okay, so what I did today is I took this big old piece and I kind of meshed it with our plan. So can you see the wall of this? This is 1/2-inch wall. This is heavy duty. See how it's small? It rounds out in here. So see that? I had to cut that little spring so we have a little room to get this to flush up against it.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Looks like it's going to work. So the idea being this goes here, that goes there, and this goes through there like that. So our other plates go here. Nobody said it was going to be easy. This is proving it. A pain in the butt. It's heavy metal. It's got to be strong. That don't sound like Snoopy. All right, is this starting to make sense?
Yes.
Okay. That one goes through there. All right. So I think, this is going to have to be really strong. And I'm imagining that there's going to be some big cross members here. I don't know how it's going to land into the chassis. We're still trying to figure all that out, but I got the lengths all mixed up on these, but I just bought a whole ton of hardware. All the right stuff is here. Yeah, so now you can see we're starting to come together on something. Now another element is this hairpin rod or radius rod control arm link. So let's get the paper. We'll go to that because we're starting to look like a suspension. So again, these are rigid in the chassis and it's pushing down on all that. That's why it's got to be so dang strong. I picked up 4 of these time joints. They're not going to be strong enough, but they'll be placeholders until I get some giant stuff. Like this rest of this, I'm going to create it and then oversize the hole. So these are 7/8 bolts. Pretty strong, but not compared to this axle. So let me reverse this hardware. It's just that kind of day. Everything is kind of backwards. No, we're going to want that there because it's got to come out this way. We're going to have that plate. So these are just going to be shortened. It's going to have room for nuts right there. So with a hot rod, radius rod arm thing, you're going to want 2. One up here and one down here, above and below the tie rod. And that's what stops this axle from twisting. So we're going to make that out of that big plate I have. I'm going to start by knocking up this. We're going to want the plate to pretty much match the hardware here. So that is going to be dropping vertical right through there. We're going to cut this maybe here and here. So I'm just going to knock this out of the way. Come up square. How far down do we want to go? Let's find out. Our tie rod is about 2.5 down. So to the bottom of that, if we set that at 5, we're good. So right here, we're going to come up 5 inches. That's going to be the hole. I'm going to make it 6, and then we'll trim it back. We'll just make it out of paper. We're going to come up 6 to here. I'm going to square, well, let's go 6. I'm going to square that. So here's the deal. You're going to have 2 arms here, right? And we're going to want this to be strong. The hole's going to be here. That's going to be one hole. So you want it to be strong, but not as strong as that shackle point. So we're going to come in and just make it look good. Just kind of, you know what I'm saying? Just so it looks cool. And that's going to come around that. Like that. That way we're grabbing this whole piece here. And I'll probably tie off this way as well. Now the question is this going to be strong enough down here? See where I'm going with this? This is going to be here, and these are going to bolt on with a little spacer. And I could put them, no, we're going to run out of room for the hardware. Yeah, we'll have enough room for a lock nut there, and then that will go here. They'll be clean and tight. Now, you think that's strong? You know, this is going to have the opportunity or possibility of breaking, of it bending. Maybe at this point we'll just double it. Yeah, maybe we'll double it with a little. Sometimes you'll see our hole is right here. So our structure, our bolt's going to be there. Sometimes you'll see like So make like a little diamond shape like that and tack it on. Call it like a fish plate. Maybe we'll do something like that. I'll just put a little extra brace in that corner there. So let's transfer this to the steel. Let's make 2 of these. Again, heavy stuff. It's gonna be really difficult to break that, but I mean, this is a truck. Stuff happens. So let's just hit that onto there. I'm gonna make 2 of these, and it's gonna be really boring. So, Jamie.
Montage.
Or you could just take a rest and come back when it's cut. Cutting 2 of these, it's not gonna be fast business. Whew. Cut 2 plates out. All that time. What was that, an hour?
About, and you went to Carl's.
I had to go to the hardware store. 7/8 drill bit is not easy to come by. So that's what I ended up with, these 2 side plates. So let's weld these on. So what we're gonna end up with here is just a little bit of interference, but I don't think it's a deal breaker. We're gonna have to run 2 smaller nuts side to side. I could bring this out just a little bit. So this is gonna typically go on a little bit of an angle, so maybe I'll just do that. Just cheat a little bit of room. And you'll see we got top and bottom. So these can hang out down here. Yeah, cool. All right, let's weld these on. Fortunately, we're not gonna have a lot of work to show today. It's gonna take me another 5 hours to build the other stuff. Trapping these bolts. One thing at the TV show made everything look so easy. What I'm doing here is burning down into that gap, and then I'm going to take this off and flip it over. Weld it up inside first. Just making sure that all of these things are lined up and even. Tacking them in hard. All right, so what I was saying earlier is that this bushing was a little bit loose. So I'm gonna pop this off, put a slice through here. I'm gonna wedge this tight against the bushing, then weld it. Trying to shrink that tube a little bit. See how I push that, it tightens it up. Shrunk that down so there's no. Maybe I should go a little bit tighter. It's in there nice and tight. All right, cool. So this is started. I think for a last bit of strength, I'm gonna put a strap up and over here. So let's just accomplish that. I don't want to overheat anything with a ton of welding right now. So let's just cut that piece out and make that happen. I think I have some strap right here. All right, so I think this, yeah, perfect. It's gonna come up here. It's gonna bend. It's gonna turn forward however many inches we deem necessary. Let's see what that is. Come forward 5 inches. So I got this cool bender right here. I'll just throw that in. 5. So we're gonna have a total of 7 1/4, 2 times. I just cut these two.
Why did you do that?
Well, when you bend it with that big hammer, you're hitting it here and see it kind of returns. So hitting it kind of makes it loop up. So knock it back straight. That's why it sprung off.
Ah.
Yeah, cool. So I don't know, I don't really see any reason to weld this up. I'm just gonna put a lot of heat into it for no reason. So the reason I welded this solid here is I'm gonna form it into shape right now over that. Blast that. Trying not to cook that bushing, so keeping the heat down. All right, so my major concern at this point is the way that these heim joints are going to work with the hardware for the shackle. So you can have this bolt coming in. We're gonna have to, these bolts are almost gonna be back to back in here. You're gonna have this. I think what I'm gonna end up doing here is I'm gonna countersink a bolt. so that this will sit like this, because this is very close. I'm gonna have to knock this bushing out, countersink that way. Let me see if I can knock this bushing out. I think little Jewel might be cursed. It might not be a good project at all. We're running into nothing but drama with this thing. All right, so how all this will come together is this will be inserted this way. This heim will bolt on. It's gonna need a little, they have these little spacers, so it'll have a little bit of room to wiggle. There's a little wiggle room. So that'll go here. I'll have to get, I mean, it's gonna be upsized in the end probably, but for the mock-up, this is gonna work. This will be our suspension radius rod right here on a heim joint, welded to a tube. And then when this bushing goes back in, it's gonna have this big bolt. And I was just worried right now. I was super frustrated because I thought that it wasn't gonna clear, but it actually does. I can't catch a break. Let me just try to sand this down. So this bolt is gonna go right in there. And then the shackle, I was really concerned. See, the shackle just has enough room to swing. So that'll be cool. That'll just hang down. This tube, oh, I can't, it's not gonna work because this can't go in.
It's just
Yeah, it's not gonna work.